-1 to the Inter-Korean Summit in Pyongyang. It will be the first time in over a decade that the leaders of the two Koreas will meet in the North Korean capital. I'll be looking ahead to what to expect from that with an expert guest later in the show. But first, we turn to Devin Whiting at the NewsCenter, who has the latest on that summit. Devin?
Hi, Jung. We'll start at the summit's main press center set up over the weekend in Seoul at the Dongdaemun Design Plaza. That's where all the footage is going to come from when President Moon is in Pyongyang. Our Blue House correspondent Hwang Ho-jun is standing by for us there. Ho-jun, what's the latest?
Devin, the itinerary for President Moon Jae-in's three-day visit to the North Korean capital was revealed this morning. According to the President's Chief of Staff, Jung, the President will depart from Pyongyang from Seoul Air Base at 8:40 a.m. Korea Standard Time. Flying directly over the West Sea, President Moon is expected to land in Pyongyang at 10 a.m., which is where an official welcoming ceremony will be held and where the world will likely witness an historic encounter between the two leaders at the airport. President Moon and the delegation will have a short lunch, which will then be followed by the first of at least two planned meetings between the two leaders. After the first one, the leaders will watch an art performance together before attending a welcoming dinner hosted in honor of President Moon. On Wednesday, the leaders will have another sit-down together, and if all goes smoothly, we can expect President Moon and Kim Jong-un to hold a joint news conference explaining the results of their meetings. President Moon Jae-in is expected to return back to Seoul on Thursday, but do bear in mind the detailed schedule is subjected to change depending on the situation. Im Jong-seok also underlined the agenda for this summit: improving and developing inter-Korean relations, mediating and promoting talks between Pyongyang and Washington on denuclearization, and finally reducing military tensions and ending the threat of war. Interestingly, this will be the first time the denuclearization issue has been discussed between the two leaders as an official part of the summit agenda. Take a listen.
Whether an agreement emerges on specific ways to move forward on denuclearization, and whether such an agreement will be put into a document or be announced orally, we can say nothing with any certainty at this point. That's why it's important for the two leaders to hold frank discussions.
So, Ho-jun, this will be the third summit happening in Pyongyang, and the last one, of course, took place 11 years ago. There's got to be a lot of excitement among the reporters as well.
Well, you're absolutely right. The Seoul Media Press Center set up here at the DDP is already full of reporters both from Korea and abroad. As of 9:40 a.m., a total of 2,671 media personnel have registered to be here. That number will likely go up as more register on site. Just a couple of hours ago, South Korea's Prime Minister Lee Nak-yeon also stopped by to check on the facility. And in just a few moments, the Presidential Press Secretary Yoon Young-chan will brief the press today. So we will definitely try to bring you more detailed updates for later newscasts. Devin?
All right, Ho-jun, busy already at the press center. Thank you for that. Now, the very week after the summit, President Moon will be going to New York for the UN General Assembly. And while he's there, he's asked Prime Minister Lee Nak-yeon to take care of administrative affairs. During a meeting with his top aides on Monday, the president also asked the PM and the National Security Council to be on standby starting Tuesday while he's away for his summit with Kim Jong-un. The top office says all of the council members will be ready for any kind of emergency meeting should the need arise for one with an hour's notice. A South Korean advance team is in Pyongyang putting the final touches on the summit. At a press briefing Monday, the Blue House's deputy spokesperson said the team of around 90 officials, led by the president's Secretary for Unification, is discussing setting up a joint press center with the North, and they're testing communications between the situation rooms in Seoul and Pyongyang. The team has also inspected the locations and routes the South Korean delegation will take. The spokesperson said the government will update the public in real time on what's happening there. Among the 150 delegates heading to Pyongyang tomorrow are representatives from the sports and cultural sectors to possibly discuss inter-Korean exchanges in those fields in the near future. Jonguns has more.
From Pyeongchang to Indonesia's Jakarta and Palembang, the two Koreas have recently competed together in international sporting events, and there are efforts being made towards more inter-Korean sporting cooperation in the future. South Korean table tennis legend Jung is among the delegates who is hoping to promote further ties through her special visit to the North Korean capital. Hyun, a 1988 Olympic gold medalist and three-time world champion, said she wants to see the two Koreas continue their recent joint efforts in table tennis. The Koreas have already competed under one flag at two international table tennis competitions this year. Following the unified team at this year's World Table Tennis Championships in Sweden, the Koreas fielded four unified teams at the Korea Open in Daejeon, with the mixed doubles duo of Jang Woo-jin and Cha Yo-sim winning gold. And amid the recent Asian successes in Jakarta and Palembang in canoeing, rowing, and women's basketball, Hyun said she is hoping that the two Koreas can field joint teams in table tennis at both the upcoming World Championships and the Tokyo 2020 Summer Olympics. Besides Hyun, three other sports figures will be making the trip to Pyeongyang. Lee Gi-heung, head of the Korean Sport and Olympic Committee, Cha Bum-gun, former player and head coach of the South Korean men's national football team, and Park Jong-un, captain of the unified Korean women's hockey team at the 2018 Pyeongchang Winter Olympics. The delegates will head to Pyeongyang to propose possibly co-hosting the 2032 Summer Olympics and the 2034 World Cup. Meanwhile, from the culture and arts sector, rapper Jiko, singer Ailey, and producer Kim Young-seok have been invited to the north as part of the entourage. The K-pop stars are expected to perform a rendition of Arirang and Our Wishes reunification with the piano during the summit's feast. This will mark the second time that South Korean musicians have visited the north this year, following the group that performed in the north in the spring, which included Red Velvet and Seoyeon of Girls' Generation. The upcoming visit by culture and arts representative aims to bring the two Koreas closer together, and further cross-border events are in the works, including a concert in Seoul this autumn. 원정환, Arirang News.
Now, because the Inter-Korean Summit is taking place in the north, there are limits to media coverage. That's why South Korea set up the main press center in Seoul. Not only will footage be coming through the center, but officials will be giving regular briefings there too. Park Hee-jun explains.
One of the most memorable moments during the April 27th summit in Panmunjom was when South Korean President Moon Jae-in and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un met for the first time at the military demarcation line. When the main press center in Ilsan, Gyeonggi-do province broadcast live coverage of President Moon stepping over to the north, journalists experienced an overwhelming rush of emotions. The main press center will be playing that same role during the Pyongyang summit, but this time it's in the heart of Seoul. South Korea's presidential office is operating the center at the Dongdaemun Design Plaza to accommodate thousands of members of the local and international media. This is the closest the international media can get to the Pyongyang summit. Details of the meeting will be sent from Pyongyang to the main press center, which journalists will deliver to the rest of the world. The MPC includes a main briefing room, international broadcasting center, interview room, and a master control room. In the main briefing room, journalists will be able to watch live video footage of the summit via two giant screens. There will also be debates among different panels of experts. The press center will be connected to an online platform to provide details on the summit in 9 different languages, including English, Chinese, and Arabic. Media members will also be able to access articles, photos, and videos on the summit at any time and any place. The center is scheduled to operate through Friday, a day after the summit ends. Park Hee-jun, Arirang News.
And throughout this week, Arirang TV will be bringing you English content for the historic Third Inter-Korean Summit, and will be holding discussions with experts during it as well. Arirang TV has been selected as the main English broadcasting station for the summit. So do stay tuned to Arirang throughout this week for more up-to-date news on the Moon-Kim Summit. And I'm Devin Whiting. Those are your news headlines.
In about 16 hours' time, South Korean President Moon Jae-in will step on a plane and head to Pyongyang to meet with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. It will be the first time in 11 years that a South Korean leader will step foot in the North Korean capital. It will be another landmark moment in Korean history, but at the same time, symbolism won't be enough. Pressure is on President Moon to come back with some sort of progress on inter-Korean relations and North Korea's denuclearization. We'll preview the summit with an expert shortly, but first let's take a look back at what South Korea's summit committee had to say in preparation for the big day.
이번 정상회담의 의제에 대해서 간략하게 설명드리겠습니다. 첫째는 남북 관계를 개선 발전시켜 나가는 것입니다. 여기서 가장 중요한 것은 이미 합의된 판문점 선언입니다. 기준이 되는 것은 판문점 선언의 이행 상황을 남북 정상이 함께 확인하고 그간의 성과를 바탕으로 앞으로 지속 가능한 구체적 발전 방향을 논의하게 될 것입니다. 둘째는 비핵화를 위한 북미 대화를 중재하고 촉진하는 일입니다. 북미가 새로운 평화적 관계 설정을 위한 진정성 있는 대화를 조속히 재개해서 북한의 진전된 비핵화와 미국에 상응하는 조치가 추진될 수 있도록 노력할 것입니다. 마지막으로 남북 간의 군사적 긴장과 전쟁의 위협을 종식시키는 것입니다. 남북 간 군사적 긴장 완화와 신뢰 구축을 위한 포괄적 합의를 추진하고 있습니다. 군사적 충돌 가능성을 근원적으로 해소하고 실질적인 평화 정착의 여건을 마련해 나가기 위해 노력할 것입니다. 한 가지만 첨언하자면
Now, to help us look ahead to the summit, we have with us Dr. Woo Jung from the Sejong Institute. Thank you for making the time to join us today.
My pleasure.
Now, we just heard from Im Jong-seok, the head of South Korea's Summit Preparatory Committee, giving a press briefing, and in it he gave some more details, apart from what he'd said just there, about the President Moon's schedule. He said he'd be setting off for Pyongyang 8:40 a.m. Korea time, and then he'll be arriving there at 10 a.m. local time as well. So, and he'll also be met by Kim Jong-un himself, hopefully that's what he said, and after a morning meal, they said, they are expected to start off the discussions, the summit meeting right away. Now, what do you make of this details of this announcement so far?
I think that the difference between the summit, upcoming summit, and the previous two summits are the nature and the context of the summit. In the previous,
when you say previous two summits, do you mean
2000 and 2007?
Right.
The President Kim Dae-jung and President Roh Moo-hyun. When they visited Pyongyang, it was actually their first meeting with the North Korean leader at that time. So there was a lot of ceremonies. So when our President Kim Dae-jung and President Roh Moo-hyun respectively visited Pyongyang, the first person that they have talked is their ceremonial leader Kim Young-nam instead of the actual leader Kim Jong-il at that time. But President Moon Jae-in already met Chairman Kim twice already in this year. So probably they think that that kind of ceremony is not necessary this time. And they also think that they need to focus more on the content and the deliverables of the summit instead of those ceremonies. So that's why I think that Chief of Staff Im Jong-seok today mentioned that there's going to be at least two meetings during President Moon's visit to Pyongyang this time.
Yes, of course, as you mentioned just there, the previous times that there was an Inter-Korean Summit in Pyongyang, President Kim Dae-jung and Roh Moo-hyun, they had never met the North Korean leader Kim Jong-il at the time before. Whereas this time, it's the third time President Moon is meeting Kim Jong-un. And it's also part of the first agenda as well, as in, if we look back at what Im just said in that soundbite we just heard, he said the first agenda is about advancing inter-Korean relations with the Panmunjom Declaration at the foundation. I mean, that's probably the easy part, but I mean, what can we expect from that perspective?
So since April 27th, both governments from South and North wanted to promote and proceed with agreements made on the Panmunjom Declaration. But because of all the sanctions imposed on North Korea, it's very difficult for South Korean government to unilaterally move on with the agenda in the Panmunjom Declaration. So I think that this time President Moon Jae-in is going to discuss with the Chairman Kim Jong-un that the only way that South Korean government meaningfully proceed with the agendas of the Panmunjom Declaration, there should be some progress in the denuclearization of North Korea. So I think these issues cannot be separated from each other, but for the first agenda, promoting the Panmunjom Declaration is also linked to the denuclearization of North Korea. So not only they are going to emphasize the promotion of the Panmunjom Declaration, but at the same time, they are going to emphasize how it is a link with the denuclearization.
As I mentioned earlier, I guess it helps the fact that they've got something to work on and to build on something that they've already started, would you say?
Yes, so there are some projects that they already initiated the project by the government officials from both sides, but some projects are blocked by the legal issues because of the international sanctions. So I think that they are going to discuss what areas can be more promoted regardless of the sanctions, and what areas can be promoted only if sanctions are lifted.
Perhaps the most important issue at this summit, and the issue that's going to get the most international attention and focus, is the progress on mediating between North Korea and the US in their denuclearization talks. So far, I mean, there's been very quiet about what they're going to expect from there, and even today he was very kind of iffy about what they can expect. But are we getting any signs from the administration that say a positive outcome could be possible on this front?
So I think the discussion on this part is very tricky. First, we want to hear from North Korea about more definitive answers on the denuclearization front. But as we all know that it's going to be very difficult, they are not going to change their mind overnight. So I think that it'll take more time to persuade Kim Jong-un to move to the denuclearization talks. So I think that even if we don't hear definitive words from the mouth of the chairman Kim Jong-un, we should not categorize that this is the failure. Because the summit this time is not the end of the process, but it's the part of process of the denuclearization talks of North Korea. So even if we don't get any definitive answer from North Korean leader this time, but if we can facilitate the talks between the United States and North Korea about the denuclearization, I think we can think that this is a successful summit in that regard.
Doesn't there have to be some sort of substantial kind of outcome that North Korea offers President Moon Jae-in and possibly President Trump as well? Otherwise, because President Trump so far has said North Korea hasn't really given anything, therefore we're not going to hold any further talks. Isn't there pressure on North Korea to act? So
I'm not sure whether that any agreement or any dialogue made between President Moon Jae-in and Chairman Kim Jong-un can be made public, because now North Korea probably believes that they are going to face a second summit with the President Trump of the United States, and that's the most important part for the denuclearization talks. So when they are going to have negotiation with the President Trump about their nuclear weapons, they probably are not going to reveal what their tactics on the negotiation. So if they are going to reveal what is their position on the nuclear weapons and how far they can move, they already revealed their tactics in the negotiation. So even if they talk about these issues, I don't think they are going to make it public.
Now, the third agenda that Chief of Staff and Head of the Committee, Im, said in that soundbite we just heard is about the ending military tensions between the two Koreas. Now, this actually could also be a tricky one as well, because the last time they had working level talks between two Koreas, which was last week, this session went on for 17 hours. It started on a Thursday and ended at 3 a.m. on Friday, which was something we hadn't perhaps expected. Do you think there could be any difficulties on this issue at all?
So again, the summit tomorrow, summit this week is not the end of the process. So maybe some issues can have a conclusion at the summit, but some issues need more time to make a conclusion. And these issues on the military talks is very technical, and all issues are not only about removing the nuclear weapons. There are a lot of conventional weapons, and there are the military personnel, and moving the posts and moving the base from the DMZ, how far they should move. So there are a lot of technicalities involved in these talks. So but the most important part is that what's the spirit of the talks? The spirit of the talk is to decrease the tensions on the DMZ, around the DMZ and on entire peninsula, so we can avoid any accidental military clash that can lead to the unnecessary escalation on the Korean peninsula. So besides the denuclearization talks besides the denuclearization talks, this talks to decrease the military tension on Korean peninsula is very important, but we have to remember that we cannot get all the answers at this summit. So we will expect more talks later on.
I'm guessing you will give the same answer towards the question about the ending of the Korean War, the declaration to end the Korean War. That's been, the idea for that has been bandied about quite a lot in the last few months. Do you think any progress can be made on that?
I think that since both leaders already mentioned that issue on the April 27th summit, and it's already on the Panmunjom Declaration. So probably two leaders are strongly pursue the declaration of to the end of war within this year. But the thing is that for that, we need the support from the neighboring countries, especially from the United States. So this declaration to end the war is very much linked with the denuclearization process of the North Korea, which should be acknowledged by the United States. So probably two leaders are going to mention about the declaration to end the war issues, but at the same time, President Moon Jae-in probably is going to emphasize that that is linked with the denuclearization process of North Korea.
Let's look at some of the other issues around the summit tomorrow as well. The South Korea also announced the delegation that will be accompanying President Moon on his trip to Pyongyang. Some 150 delegates with 14 government officials going, but also rather interestingly, business leaders from South Korea going as well. The heads of Hyundai and Samsung and SK and LG, all these people going as well. I mean, there has been some controversy about their inclusion. And there's, it's perhaps not a subtle message, not very subtle message to Pyongyang about the economic benefits that the two sides can have. I mean, what do you make of this development?
So it is said that North Korean leader wanted to meet South Korean business leaders who can make actually decision on the investing in North Korea. So I think it's a good opportunity for North Korean leaders to meet real business leaders from South Korea. But it's a very long road to go for the business investment into North Korea. So it's not only about nuclear weapons. It's all about institutions, legal infrastructures that foreign companies can make investment without concerning the legal infrastructures of North Korea. So probably with these business leaders, President Moon Jae-in is going to emphasize that it's not only about North Korea's nuclear weapons, but also North Korea's legal framework that should attract the international business leaders. So when North Korea opens to the world economy, this is a possible outcome that North Korean leader can get. And the first investment can be made from the South Korean companies. I think that's what President Moon Jae-in is going to emphasize to Chairman Kim.
But there was obviously some controversy. But do you think this is a deliberate message to North Korean leader Kim Jong-un?
Yeah, sometimes when there's a summit internationally, that business leaders accompany their political leaders. So and also the business leaders this time also face indictment from the government. So they have the indictment from the government, but they also work with the government at the same time. So there's a controversy. But I think that it's the government trying to deliver a message to North Korea that this is how we develop our economy, and this can be yours if you open to the world economy.
Now, also, the UN General Assembly opens in New York on Tuesday as well. There were rumors that Kim Jong-un would be going to the UN General Assembly to meet with President Trump for a second summit with the US as well. But those rumors have died down a bit now, and there are even not any confirmations that Pompeo will meet with North Korean officials at this meeting. But do you think that could all change depending on the results from the Moon-Kim summit in Pyongyang?
So if there is some dramatic changes in the front of the denuclearization, we cannot exclude the possibility of Chairman Kim's visiting UN General Assembly this time, because if if there's any real progress in the denuclearization front of North Korea, all the international community welcome the Kim Jong-un to the international arena. So I think if we see any dramatic changes in terms of North Korea's thinking of their own nuclear weapons, I think that it's just still possible for us to see that Kim Jong-un is visiting New York in September.
But chances are quite small, do you think?
So far, it's very small chance.
Very small chance, yes. Well, we'll look forward to getting your thoughts on that tomorrow. I know you're coming in to give us your thoughts throughout the day tomorrow and till the rest of the week on Thursday as well. So we look forward to that. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
That's all from me, but as the official English language broadcaster of the summit, Arirang TV will be bringing you full, comprehensive coverage of the event from 6 a.m. Korea time all the way through to the end on Thursday. As always, we'll be providing the latest updates, expert analysis, and simultaneous English translations for any of the important announcements. So do remember to tune in then. Thank you for watching, and goodbye for now.